guys ready? Should we get started?
I think we should get started.
All right, cool. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Pas de Deux. I am one of your hosts today, Clara. And Paul.
Hi, my name is Paul Hamilton. I am new to the Pas de Deux team, and I am happy to be here.
We could not be more thrilled to have Paul joining us as a host for our new series, which is focused on Dance Now's virtual 25th anniversary season. Dance Now is charting new territory, and today we've got Robin Staff, the founding executive artistic director and producer of Dance Now, to talk to us about this new virtual season and Dance Now in general. Robin Staff, the daughter of a painter, went to Goucher College to study visual and creative arts. She graduated as the first dance major, charting the development of one of today's most vital college dance programs. She continued her career as a dancer at an age that was then considered too old, creating a small repertory company to sustain both a love of neoclassical ballet and an eagerness to explore new and contemporary movement styles. Robin was inspired by unusual urban spaces and created her first gallery performance at the Worcester Street Gallery in Soho in 1993. The intimacy and enormous enthusiasm between the artists and audience members at this first performance predicted Dance Now's artistic direction. Over the past 2 decades, Dance Now has worked to make dance accessible and welcoming, bending the rules to offer artists a new way to think about creating and audiences new ways to experience dance. As Dance Now moves into its 3rd decade, Robin's vision continues to encompass the untraditional, the unconventional, and the unknown. As an administrator, she is directed by her concern for the survival of dance makers, particularly young artists and BIPOC dance artists. She remains steadfast in her commitment to providing opportunities that present new choices, stimulate creativity, advance careers, and encourage exploration of the untried, while defying the archetypical and carving a path to new means of expression. So exciting. We're so happy to have you here, Robin. I know you've said that you've just been working so hard this summer to bring this season to life and sustain everything in the middle of a global pandemic. So thank you very much for being here.
I thank you guys for this platform, to talk about what we're doing, and just listening to that. And as we're facing 25 years in the dance world is a long time.
Very.
And, I'm actually really proud that we've actually survived. And I have to say, without tapping ourselves on the back, we ended our 2019 season at the top of our game. We landed at Joe's Pub in 2003. We moved our signature festival there. We were still at a multitude of venues around the city, but after 9/11, we took this crazy idea to Bill Bragan to bring dance to this teeny tiny little stage. And he jumped on it, and the rest is kind of history. But now, 17 years later, the pub just had inspired such high quality work from the artists. I have to say, in the last 5 years, they love performing in the pub. It was, New York City's best tiny hot little stage, and they took the work really seriously and really stretched their creativity to, really challenge. And as I like to say, they brought to stage their most audacious dreams. And that's been, as a producer, so much fun to see, really different types of work and really attacking their creative process from different ways. So kind of facing 2020, coming from a really high point of where we were. And to be truthful, I think in mid-March, when this all hit, I think the team, we were just so disheartened. We were had huge plans for this anniversary season at Joe's Pub, with an expansion of our programming. Had already put in place a strategic plan, to enhance what we were doing. And in the beginning, I think we had pretty much decided to just postpone, just to sit this year out, and then we were thinking we would be back to Joe's Pub from, in a year, in 2021 of September. So we we met as a team almost bi-weekly, and then we decided to kind of connect in with our community, our roster of artists, to be a support network for what they were going through. And so we had these like bi-monthly happy hours. We had different hosts, starting with Gus Solomon, I think was the first. Sarah Julie did one. And what we gathered from that probably early in April was we had to relook at this. We had to give our artists some kind of hope and opportunity. Many people in the beginning were not responding because there was so much cancellation out there. All their gigs were being canceled or postponed, or just there was nothing on the calendar for them, way out, So we decided, we got together and we racked our brains and we're like, how do we do this? We were really lucky that our private funders came to our rescue early. They sent us funds well ahead of time so that we knew that we had resources in our account to be able to continue to pay our staff, our part-time staff. We're small, we're a teeny tiny organization. We do a lot, but we're tiny.
How many staff members do you have?
So there's me, and I have a director of programming, Ariane Michaud, who's been with us, I think, 3 years. My amazing production manager, Lauren Parrish, who's just relearned everything she knows about producing and lighting design in the theater to create online programming, and it's been a real learning curve. And we've been lucky through Ariane's connections to get a few interns this summer, because we could not have done this workload without it. So just backtracking, and feel free to ask me questions as I go through that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
It's been fast and furious. It's been working through a lot of heartbreak, trying to figure out. I think the most important thing for us was we wanted to recreate the atmosphere and the magic that we've obtained through the years at Joe's Pub, because that's part of the success of Dance Now.
Absolutely.
And we've always been the unconventional girl out there. 5-minute or less pieces. They used to be 12, and the artist would give us 15, so we chopped it down to 7. Then they would give us 10, so we chopped it down to 5. So
Wow.
we're pretty committed to that, and we really believe in the less is more theory.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and just to set the stage for any listeners who might not be familiar, I mean, Dance Now really kicks off the season, right, in New York City through this performance at Joe's Pub. Is it usually the week after Labor Day?
It's right after Labor Day. We've had a few exceptions to that. The year that we moved exclusively to Joe's Pub, which was 2011, we launched in sync with their renovation, which happened in October. I think there was one other year that we did an October launch, but since 1996, when we started with the Downtown Multi-Arts Festival, Labor Day has been our week,
Yeah.
And if you go back into our history, and I hope people will go on our new online site, we haven't launched it yet, but in this process we've been through, we have created an interactive timeline going back to as early as 1993, which I referenced in the bio you read. Our first gallery performance was at 101 Wooster Gallery, where Sarah Huck, Paul, you might remember this. She premiered Caucasian Spirituals.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Race was in that, David Parker,
Right.
Kathy Wildberger. That was the start, and that was kind of a little seed in my brain that said, bringing dance, into the places where people live, work, and play was a really accessible way of generating enthusiastic audiences for dance.
Would that be?
Go ahead,
With
Paul.
that being with that being said, Robin, and so you talk about the heartbreak of seeing artists out of work, not knowing when these performances will come back. Dance Now kicks off the season in New York City. So many artists look forward to the kicking off of, Joe's Pub. And I mean, Joe's Pub is a small venue. So you said, you were the little girl out there, but then you've moved the festival online and you have a larger audience, or you have access to a larger audience. Can you
We'll,
talk to that?
yeah, we'll see, Paul, how that goes. We've worked really hard to recreate the environment of Joe's Pub. The artists that the commissions, we have, I believe, 19 new digital commissions that we commissioned at the same price that we would pay them to go to Joe's Pub. And I can share honestly that we selected those artists. Many of them had already been selected for the 2020 festival because we were already in process. So we stuck to that. And many of those artists are younger, newer artists who we really felt beholden to give them this opportunity. And unlike some of our veteran artists and our up and coming artists, they need the work. They need the financial stability. So that was a preference,
Mm-hmm.
So we have 19 digital works, and we've tasked them with creating those works anywhere they want, inside or outside, but it has to be within the confines of the size of the Joe's Pub stage.
I love that. Perfect quarantine work creative. We're all stuck.
Well,
anyway.
Some of them are outside. Nicole Wolcott has moved to the Big Sky Country and is doing her piece in a sculpture park outside. Mike Esperanza, who is new to us and has been so fun to work with, created his piece in an elevator.
Wait, that's smaller than Joe's Pub, though, right? He's taking it another step further.
Absolutely.
Listen, in all these years, when we first landed there in 2003, the artists looked at us and like, are you crazy? Like, I don't know what I can do on a small stage,
I remember being on that stage thinking the same thing.
Yeah, they were panicked, but after a while, nobody even notices anymore. I mean, we did Doug Elkin's reinvention of the sound of music there with like a dozen of artists with major big movement. It can be done. I don't even think about the size of the stage anymore. But this online around the world, innovation and creation is really going to be fun to see what they're coming up with.
Are they having other people, or are most of them solos because of distancing and that kind of thing, or is it a
Mike
mix?
Esperanza uses 4 dancers, and they enter the elevator one at a time, to be COVID safe. And we're very careful with our artists. We have multiple meetings with them to make sure that they're being careful, and abiding by the COVID rules.
That's great.
And then they eventually are all in the elevator again together. Nicole's is a solo. Ayodela Cassell is also new to us this year. She did a beautiful little tap piece for us. And then the part that's been a lot of work is we wanted, because it was our 25th, to bring back some of our archival words, the Dance Now favorites. So we have been digging into our archives, and that has been no easy feat. It has been a big lesson to carefully archive your photographs and your videos and your press and your programs and everything. And we've spent since mid-March doing that. They're all in one Google Drive, thanks to Lauren Parrish, so that we can easily access them, because if we're here in this online way, we're going to need to be able to get into those archives. So we have we actually have 3 archival works that we're presenting in the September chapter, and that's Trisha Brooks' I Stand, which is a very strong piece. It's a political piece. We felt that that voice needed to be heard this year. And then we have Uma, which is Chelsea Ainsworth and Doran Park. They're two of our younger artists. You may know Chelsea. She runs Arts on Site, and she's a real mover and shaker. They're doing a piece I did, I believe, 2 years ago that's highly physical. And then Gus is our honoree. We, in this whole picture that we built, we wanted to be sure to honor all of our artists, past, present, and future, as we travel through this season. So we picked 6 veteran artists to honor. Gus is our first, Claire Porter, Jane Comfort, Robert Battle. All these people came through us. David Parker. I may be missing one. So we're doing this artist to audience Zoom celebration, which is a recreation of being in the Joe's Pub environment during performance. And we will show the video, archival video of Gus's I Used to Be Taller, which is beautiful, and I believe he did that 2 years ago with us. I don't know if you read about the artist to audience celebration, but we will be having an artist voiceover. We're trying to put as many of our artists to work as possible. So some of our artists are hosting our programs. Some of them are voiceovers. As you sit in the waiting room, they'll be telling you stories or about what you're about to see. I'm not going to tell you who they are because that'll spoil the surprise. And then we have our first host is, of course, Deborah Losi, aka Trudy, who has been the host of Joe's Pub now at least the last 4 years. And she'll start us off. But we have a mixologist and a cocktail recipe that you'll get before you even get to the party. I'm doing the toast with everybody, and it'll be an interactive event, just kind of like, I don't know, Paul, if you've been to any of the Dance Now events with Trudy, but she always gets the audience up and down.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's what we're doing. It's going to be wild. We're having an after party. You can stay or not stay. And every host is treating it differently.
And Robin,
So
in general,
definitely. No, go ahead, Tyler.
Zoom is so hard.
Tyler,
it's like there's like a little delay. I was just gonna ask if you could recap.
Our hands up.
Yeah, there we go. We'll raise our hands.
Yeah.
If you could recap quickly for the audience the structure so that people know how to tune in to. I understand it's a 1 day, right, per month for each chapter when you tune in at a specific time. Okay. Is it live?
So let me give you the layout. So the Dance Now story is being told in 6 monthly chapters. We decided it was important to keep our artists and Dance Now visibility out there past the month of September. We do still have an April shared artists program on the calendar at Joe's Pub. We left that month open. We have no clue what that's going to look like yet. So we have a monthly chapter, a performance and celebration in September, October, November, a break in December and January, come up in the winter, February, March, skip April, and go into May. The performance launches the second Thursday of each month at 12 noon. So you can go on Dance Now online. You can purchase one performance, hope I get this right, for $10. You can purchase the performance and the party, which is 2 weeks later, for $20. You can also purchase a $50 subscription, which is all 6 performance months, or you can purchase the entire subscription, which is $100 and gets you all 6 performances, all 6 parties. It includes 42 artists, 19 digital works, 17 archival works, and 6 surprise works.
That's an amazing deal for $100. I mean,
We think
That's
so.
really good.
You know,
That's
and
great.
we're trying to push to get 100 subscriptions, which we believe if we
Yeah.
can do that, our plan is to just keep going. You know, there are so many artists. We were only able, out of the thousands of artists we have produced and presented over the years, 42 is a big number for us right now, but it's not, you know, it's a small drop in what we want to do. You know, we
Yeah.
want to be able to include more artists in there. So whatever we make from box office sales, because that's not even in my budget, to tell you the truth, because I have no idea what that's going to be. But those funds will go directly to new commissions. And as long as we're in isolation and quarantine in the theaters and the spaces where we create and work and present are not open to us, we will commission new digital work.
That's incredible.
So Robin, you've been in the dance field. I see you around. You're great. Could you tell us or talk to us about how you came to dance?
Mm.
As far as just like, yeah, could you talk to us about how this all started?
Yes, I'll try to be brief.
And I love
Believe,
the part of your bio that says you were too old, because we don't believe in any of that here either.
well, that's how
Exactly.
my project, and Paula knows me through Pink Ribbons Project, but just to go quickly through it, as a very, very young dancer, my mother dragged me to an Isadora Duncan ballet school, I think in Scarsdale, New York, in some old mansion. And I have memories of being barefoot, no tights, no shoes, like running around the mansion with scarves. I hated it. I hated every moment of it. I was like a bunhead then, you know, I wanted to be a ballerina with pink tights, you know, and ballet shoes. So somehow that convinced my mom. She dragged me to Riverdale, New York, where Ruthanna Boris, I don't know if you recognize that name, she was a former New York City ballet dancer who retired. She also danced with Joffrey, and she was teaching in Riverdale. And I went several times a week from Westchester to Riverdale to take really professional ballet classes. And I guess as I started to get better and better, Ruthanna thought that I should audition for New York City Ballet, which I did. So there were a lot of people who don't know this part of my story, but I was actually personally auditioned by Balanchine himself when it was on the Upper West Side on Broadway with two of my best friends. You know, we were in elementary school then, like 9 and 10 years old. One of my friends was rejected. The other one who was a little overweight, was told if she lost 15 pounds over the summer, they would take her. And I was accepted. So she lost the weight over the summer. We come back, they rejected her. Now, that was like the beginning of the trauma of me in the dance world. I know you guys understand this.
Yeah. So sad.
So, you know, I went to New York City Ballet, you know, as a very young dancer, pulled out of elementary school at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and got on a train by myself and traveled through the city. I'm not going to go into details here, but I did have a Me Too movement, Me Too moment. And my parents took me out of school. So I had already had this intensive neoclassical training, and I was living in Westchester, and there was no place for me to grow there, you know. So I went to a few Dolly Dingle ballet schools the next couple years, and I chose to go to Goucher College when I was getting ready for that level. And modern dance. They asked me to improv, you know, and I was like, oh God, I hate this too.
So scary.
I know, yes, but I did it. And eventually I was able to grow the dance department at Goucher into a full-blown dance department with ballet and everything. And today it's one of the best dance department colleges, you know. We know many. Christian Jowers went there, Sarah Hook went there, a whole bunch of us, you
Yeah.
know, and I feel really good about that. I came back to New York. My parents want me to work. They, you know, still don't want me dancing. I worked at Bloomingdale's and Bonwood Tellers, but I started taking jazz classes at the Ailey School across from Bloomingdale's with Pepsi Bethel,
Hmm.
Doreen Richardson, and I got the jazz. I wanted to dance again, you know. So I first went to Le Grand Ballet Canadien to apprentice there. I didn't like the company scene at all, and it was too cold in Canada. So then I went to Dance Theater of Harlem as an apprentice. And that was rough. You know, at that
Yeah.
time, that was the 70s. I was like the only white girl in an all Afro-American um,
Hmm.
company, and I knew it was going to be difficult. So that's when I
Hmm.
started Colloquium on my own. And
Okay.
I wanted it to be a repertory company. And David Anderson and Christopher Palafian, Marjorie Musman were a few of the earlier choreographers. And in 1995, I started to work with Zvi Gottheimer and dance and study with him. And I met Tamara Greenfield, who was managing Zvi at that time. And we hit it off immediately. She was a non-dancer, but she was also in visual arts and highly talented at what she was doing. And the Downtown Multi-Arts Festival, Simon Watson came to her and asked if she could help build a small dance pilot program for the festival. And so Tam came to me and said, I need help. And in 2 months, I think that was like July, we pulled together 23 artists. We did the Swiss Institute and I believe Gallery Hennick and Dia Art Center. Joan Duddy was there. We presented 25 artists in like a 2-week program, and it was a hit. That was the start of Dance Now. We stayed with the
Hmm.
Multi-Arts Festival for a couple of years until we were getting way too big. I mean, there was a point in our early career where we were presenting 180 artists, uptown, downtown, east, west, any venue we could get into.
All
Mm.
year or just in the fall?
No,
Or
in the fall season.
wow.
It used to run for 2 weeks. We did Dance Harlem, Dance Donza, Washington Heights. We did multiple galleries across Soho. We did the Great Hall at
Wow.
Cooper Union, which is where I first started to work with Gus Solomon and Paradigm,
Hmm.
Carmen de Lavalade and Dudley Williams.
Mm.
Um,
And was there an audience at each of these places? Was there
yeah, we did.
an
We
appetite
had
for
an
it?
audience. You know, we're hardly in the beginning. We had a dance pass. You know, for $10 you could go anywhere.
Wow.
We didn't have much money for the artists until Mertz Gilmore came in. I don't know what year that was.
It's all right.
Whatever. They gave us a multi-grant and we were able to start paying our artists, and then things started to change. Dance Theater Workshop invited us to come in 2005. So we started to cut back. I think in those 2005 to 2008, we were only at Joe's Pub and Dance Theater Workshop.
Hmm.
And then things started to accelerate at Joe's. We started to see the beauty and the gift of, we call it sparking creativity by limitation. Just the smallness and the intimacy of the space and the closeness of the audience to the artist was creating some really, really special work.
Yeah.
And when,
Yeah. So
go ahead, Paul.
no. You continue. Please continue.
We decided to jump ship in 2011 when the old Joe's Pub used to be, they kept the lights down and the air conditioning all the time because the couches were so dirty and it was so stinky from red wine and cigarettes, you know, and then renovated this beautiful glittery space in 2011. And we were like, wow, we want to be a part of this, you know, and Shanto was the director there. Bill had moved on to, I guess, Summer Stage. And we moved. I asked my funders, I said, what do you think about this? Will you stay behind us? And they did. And we've been there ever since. And it's a golden opportunity for us. We have a unique and different voice. And from there, I'll just transition into, as hard as this online programming has been to create, I think we've been blessed, and maybe this is why, Clara, you said, other people are not heading into this direction the way we are. I look at most organizations are doing archival work or repertoire. They're showing what they've done in the past. And we're trying to create new. But we have the tools already because we're so unconventional. And we've already asked our artist community, like, we challenge you, 5 minutes or less, create an artistic statement that is meaningful, in whatever kind of space you want. We had that flexibility and that tool. And using the vision of what we were at Joe's Pub, and hopefully will continue to be, I think we've created a pretty exciting season.
And I think it speaks more as well to the needs of the performers. I know as a performer myself, works have been presented online over the pandemic of what I've done. And, the idea of residuals in dance to performers is not really addressed really. And so a lot of time performers don't really get paid for the work that's being presented on them online. And so the fact that you can address
we're very against that.
Yes. So to see you addressing that in that way is really quite courageous, and thank you for that. But and I also wanted to go back a little because you talk. You have this breadth of experience and knowledge in the dance world because you've seen it progress and grow for so long, and you mentioned the Me Too moment, and I guess I wanted to have you speak to where you see the dance world now with all of what is happening, with all of the social justice, racial justice, Me Too movement. How is dance now positioned to
this is really interesting, Paul. We have always had a very diversified program roster. That's just who we've been. Our signature format is to place multi-generational artists, young, up and coming, and veteran artists side by side in our programming. We had already programmed the 2020 festival, and we stuck mostly to that. There were some cases that we were not able to do, but more than 55% of the work that we're presenting this year is from BIPOC artists. And we are committed to that. We are right now, because we are an all-women's run organization with very little diversity in it. That's our next step. And we're working on that. We've actually applied for a capacity grant. Pray for us that we get it, because we need staff now to help us continue on in this format. And we plan to hire a more diverse staff as we go forward. We've already tackled that in our board, but yes, that's top of mind for us right now. And particularly in our presentation, we want to be very careful about who we're presenting and fair to all the artists in our community.
That's great.
Yeah.
I had another semi-related question. You mentioned getting funding at one point and being able to pay your artists, which is so important. And something that just comes up so much these days, there are all these conversations happening about payment and non-payment in the dance community. And I see a lot of parallels to other artistic communities. I work in independent film, and I see a lot of parallels there. Sometimes you have to start something and you have to start doing it before you have the budget to be fair, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, none of us want to be unfair at all, and it's becoming more and more important, I think, just more and more recognized as a topic of conversation, that it's, you know, not okay to exploit people. And so I'm curious, do you have any advice or thoughts on what new young artists should do? I mean, if they have work they want to create but they have no budget, should they find friends who are okay doing it
Well,
for no pay and then build up to get funding, or how do you get to that point where you can do it right?
we've added to some of the things we're doing, and you know, my staff is working overtime right now, and we are trying to gather as many funds as possible. And we're nervous about funding going forward. We
It's
know
hard with
it's
dance.
really hard, and I will honestly say we're spending what we have right now to be able to do what we are, knowing that the state and the city in particular, forget the federal government, um,
Yeah,
it's probably going to be at 50% of what it was, you know, if anything at all. So I'm just trying to be realistic about that. Our private funders are stretched too, you know, because they're helping so many artists now, particularly in New York City, and they need to. But that said, even before we launched this series, our strategic plan as we hit 25 was looking at our budget. We need more individual contributors and more earned income support. So we are working towards that. We hope to be able to create some of that with this online presence. You know, we know that we can't keep going the same route.
Yeah.
So this is not only an artistic challenge, but as you said, Clara, this is a financial challenge, you know, and it's a financial challenge for the entire dance community. I have no clue, Paul. You know, you asked about where the dance community is, you know, and this is where I start to get emotional, because how can you not?
Yeah.
Who will be here and who will not be here? What spaces will close? What theaters? What dancers? So many of them have moved away.
Yeah.
They've fled the city. They'll continue to create, and I'd love to see what you're doing, Paul, for sure. But I love when I fall into stuff online and my dancers dancing in the streets or in parking lots or beautiful pastures or gardens.
I'll send you a video
Okay,
personally.
do. I love that. I mean, I've always liked things in unconventional, different spaces. To me, that the art speaks the best there. Tam and I laugh all the time if we have to go to, like, you know, a performance event in a theater. I'm like a kid. I can't sit still. You know, it's like, ask me to sit through a dance performance that's more than an hour. It's really hard for me to do that.
I know this sounds so bad as like bunhead dancers, but Jessica and I realized many years ago together while we were watching, I think, Sleeping Beauty, or one of those like 3-hour ballets where the
Oh,
entire last act is a wedding. We were just like, I don't think I can do a show that's more than an hour and a half anymore. Like, I don't think I can. I mean, I need like 3 espressos. It's just, I love them, but
yeah.
it's too
Well,
much.
the irony is that they ask you to sit in this room for like
Like
an hour and a
watching
half, sit
television.
still,
Yeah.
and watch and watch people do these things with their bodies and not expect you to have some kind of physical reaction in the moment to what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm,
I
I'm,
mean, it's all good, but
I'm hoping this new online challenge for us creators and innovators and dancers and even artists, theater people too, is really going to make it more visceral for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, right now I'm really burned out on online content, but you know, some of the things like the LA company, the thing they do with the ballet shoes,
Mm-hmm.
I must have watched that 100 times. It was just so beautiful. And Larry Kegwood and Nicole Wolcott did something with Juilliard that was equally beautiful. And you know, it's just really exciting to watch. So I'm hoping we advance in that direction as we start to bring ourselves back to live concert, because that's the goal.
Yeah. So what are some of the things then that you think, like, So we're learning all this new stuff from putting work online. We're learning, how to manage this online process. What are some of the things that you've learned in this process that you think will translate well to when we get back to live performance, to when you're able to,
Yeah,
to present things
that's
in
a great
person?
question.
Yeah.
Joe's Pub max are we allowed to have? We sometimes had 200 people in the audience. I think the max is supposed to be 180, and we always sell
Hmm.
out, especially for the festival. So you do the math. We do 4 shows at the festival, and we do an additional encore. So that's 1,000 people. This year we were planning to do 2 encores because we should have been doing 2 encores every year. We're hoping that our outreach and people who are unable, for whatever reasons, will now be able to see our programming. We will,
Yeah.
although it's expensive, we will continue to archive our videos and be very careful about, making sure that everything is videoed, and we're going into captioning and, accessibility needs for our, disability people
Yeah.
and
Which
audience
is,
users.
yeah,
That's been a
easier
whole
online. Mm-hmm.
easier online.
Yeah.
But we're committed to do that. So, I can reach my friends now. A lot of my dance friends live in Europe and they're across the country. They can't come to my performances. My audience out here, I have a huge audience, and a part of what I do, you probably don't know, but I curate dance for Art Spots at Steel Stacks here, who's also struggling. And I'm actually gifting them our programming this year at no cost so that we can have some Dance Now programming as part of the Dance Now Steel Stacks program. But my PA friends now can see the programming.
Hmm.
That's great. Yeah, no excuses. In Australia, you can
Right.
go to Dance Now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you just $10, you get to see the month of September, and if you like it, you'll come back in October, November, and onward. So that is the silver lining for us.
Hmm.
The other silver lining, which has actually been really interesting, is the Dance Now staff. We have never worked as closely together as we have right now, because we've been online with each other, Zooming, meetings with our board, with our advisory board, with our artists. We're in closer communication with our community and ourselves than we have ever been before. That's something that's like so needed right now, because, you and I, the 3 of us might have met in New York someplace or a cafe in Brooklyn to have done this
Hmm.
interview, but we can't do that now. So
Hmm.
we're all here, and these are like happy moments, when I'm actually communicating with humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot more about my coworkers and my artists, and we're all here. It's a great support network. We're all rooting for each other.
Yeah. Well,
Great.
and seriously, just thank you so much for doing all this insane work to move a physical medium online, because people are hurting for it. It's really disappointing every time something is canceled. It's totally understandable, especially with budget and where a lot of organizations, I'm sure, are. But I just think it's so innovative to do a full season and expand it beyond what you would normally do, and still bring that to people and find a way to make it interesting and give artists new challenges. So I just really commend you, and we can't wait to highlight everything that you guys are doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for that. But people ask me all the time, how do you do this? Because it's always a lot of work. It's definitely a labor of love, and I adore this community. We could not have done this.
Yeah.
Joan Duddy used to call us the little engine that could. I mean, for a teeny tiny organization, we do a lot, and as I said in the beginning, it's amazing, 25 years, we're still here, and I have no intentions of going anywhere else, whatever format we have to be in. And I just want to give a shout out to our partners at Joe's Pub, because they've embraced us. They're also carrying, although they're not live or in the theater, they're carrying our programming, because we get a lot of our audience from them. and they're standing behind us. And when they recreate their theaters, you know, hopefully we'll be able to work together to bring everybody back to the pub, whatever that
Yeah.
looks like in live format.
Are they open for like takeaway or any of the outdoor kind of thing? Okay. So when you say they're carrying your programming, is that online?
They're doing a lot of BIPOC programming right now. That's where their heads are at. It's great.
Wow.
Really interesting work. They're slowly working towards having small groups of musicians come into the pub and to live stream it. No audience, but to at least have new work presented. They're working towards that. I think that's their next step. But Joe's is teeny tiny. It's probably one of the worst COVID places you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
You know, we're up close and smushed in there, you know, and the artists are flying sweat from the stage, you know. So
yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, about whether or not like there was any possibility of performers like recording their work on the stage.
We are thinking about that, and I have to tap Jamal Jackson on the back for this, but he wanted us to offer a raffle this year. We haven't even gotten there yet, but we were thinking about offering a raffle. The winner would get a free performance for 4 people or less at Joe's Pub. And we'd send in, I don't know, Nicole Wolcott and Larry Keglin to create a new work. And they'd have a private screening at Joe's Pub. That's about as far as we've gotten about,
Wow.
you know,
start.
Oh my God.
it might happen, you know, who knows?
At a private talk back with the artist, maybe. I saw a work of Larry's years ago that I would like. I'd pay money to sit down.
We have to start thinking in that way.
We do.
So cool.
You know, and you talk about, I mean, we literally created this out of nothing, you know? We just came together, and that's in all of our creative spirits. I mean, look at the artists like Artist on Site, Chelsea. You know, she's a dancer right now who is really struggling because she needs to dance. You know, yeah. and I love that. You know, I'm so grateful right now that I'm not dancing because I can feel that pain of not being able to.
It is painful.
It's painful. I mean, as a performer, I didn't need an audience. I could just go up to the High School of Performing Arts and go into the studio and rehearse myself to death for 3 hours. And that would have been enough. So the thought of not being able to dance for some of these people, they're doing performances on the roof. I think they have like 20 people. They built a stage, they dragged the wood upstairs, and, you know, upstate New York and around the country, people are building outdoor stages and will do presentation outside. Who knows? They may be doing it in the snow. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's our community, and I feel blessed to be a part of it. They will rethink, they will reinvent, they'll just keep reimagining until we get to a place, you know, where we're all doing work again.
Yeah, it's not easy for a dancer who isn't able to move, and it's like such a needed release.
But you know, and I guess, I mean, a part of me wants to I guess end this on a happier note. But I also think of the possibilities. I think of, you know, Joe's Pub lends itself to a very kind of unique performance. It's a cabaret, you know, and because it happens at a certain time in the evening in the venue that it does, there are certain people who are not able to see it. Younger generation of people who aren't really able to experience the dance and the performers in that way. But now online, with people creating work outdoors, wherever, the access.
Yes.
And so I wondered if there was in any way a conscious decision or conscious decision making to target new audiences, given that you have this boundless.
Yeah, we are. So a couple of things that we're doing. First of all, we're giving passcodes to all the schools that I do masterclass programming out here with. So DeSales University students, Muhlenberg, Lehigh Valley Charter School, they're all getting passes so that their students can watch the programming. We are also connecting, Ariane went to the Boston Conservatory, so she has a lot of connection with other schools and universities where we're getting our interns from. For a small donation, we are gifting them our programming. So we are, you know, there's so many, we have a, we call it a priority quadrant, you know, of this is urgent to do, least important, next to do. You know, there's so many things, cross promotion, getting out to a more global audience. We are launching next week, but we'll still be developing this as we go, trying to reach out to new audiences, you know, so any ideas, even from the audiences, people are listening to this out there, please be in touch with us. Let us know, you know, who else do we need to reach out to? We want to share this with everybody. It's important for our artists that we're featuring this year to have that kind of visibility, and to feel like the audience and the community is still with them. You know, that's part of who they are and what they do. You know, they're expressing for the world. You know, and we now more than ever need to hear from our artists.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's amazing. I think we. Hopefully we will get to speak with Gus as well before the first chapter release, which I believe is September 10th. Either way.
Yeah, I just want to share one last thing that I think is pertinent to this online programming. And I, for one, we all having difficulty with online burnout.
Yeah, good point.
You can purchase our full subscription, which has 42 5-minute dance gifts. And you can watch it from next week, September 10th, all the way through May 31st, whenever you want, whenever you need a pickup. You don't have to watch it all together, just 5 minutes is a gift.
Oh, wow.
That we're sending. That's kind of how we're promoting this. The Dance Now gift of 5 minutes or less to keep the world moving forward in a happier place.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, but it works, Paul. That's what we've been doing for 25 years. You know, you come to Joe's Pub, we had you out of there in 45 minutes. You have the next 15 minutes that allow us to be in the space to kiss and hug your audience.
Yes.
So are you saying that each of these are the chapters pre-recorded? They're not live, and then they'll be released on the.
September will be released next week at 12 noon on the 10th.
And then after that, if you have the subscription, you can watch that anytime.
And in October, we'll send
a little dance snack just to enhance your day.
You can keep it. You can watch it again.
Wow. Okay. So after they're out, they're then available for people with that package to rewatch. Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
And then Gus's performance, you know, I told you what he's doing here, so that's no surprise, but nobody can see that video until we launch it at the party on the 24th of September. And then after that, if you have the subscription or you bought the September show, you'll get a little email that say, here's another video. And
very cool.
There you have Gus, you know, performing in your bedroom or your office or on your couch, whenever you want.
Wherever that you want, in the park, wherever, in the subway.
And we all know, you know, no one can keep their eyes off of Gus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So true, right?
That's so exciting. We should wrap up because we have taken an hour of your time, but is there anything we haven't covered that you want to say?
Did you give us information as to where all of this can be seen, the website?
We
have the press release, so we'll put out
the press release.
dancenow.online. We were really lucky to get dancenow.online. Just plug it into your browser, and it's all there.
.online. Great. Great. Cool. Before we go, we should all smile at the camera and wave, and I'll take a screenshot. So it's like we're in person getting a picture. All right,
Okay,
ready?
let me.
Just fix your hair, Paul.
Pop a little bit.
Yes.
This has been fun, guys. Thank you.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Wave, smile. Oh shit. Oh man, hold on. Wrong command. It does this.